And
Cool. Well,
perfect.
thanks everyone for joining. Awesome. So I'm Charlotte. So I'm part of the graduate program team in recruitment and marketing. And we've got Daniel on the call as well. So if you want to kick it off, Dan.
Yeah, sure. Welcome, everyone. I'm Daniel DeSalvatore. I'm the recruitment specialist here at DXC Technology, working directly with the graduate program. So I manage all the graduate recruitment from your applications through to your onboarding and hire. So I manage that whole process with assistance, obviously, from Neera and Charlotte, who are both in our team. Neera is our grad manager. She unfortunately couldn't be here today, but I'll be taking over most of the presentation on her behalf. So just to go through what we're kind of going to discuss today. We'll talk about, firstly, a bit about DXC. I'm not spending too much time on that because hopefully you know a bit about what we do. I'll just cover it at a high level, and then we'll go into a bit more detail about our graduate program and some of the opportunities that are available to you guys once you have finished your study at Macquarie. So just a little bit about DXC. So we are a large IT services company. We are a global company as well. We were founded in 2017 from a merger between CSC Australia and HPE, so Hewlett Packard Enterprise, which is the IT services wing of Hewlett Packard. Now, over the last 5 years, we are a multi-billion-dollar company with our revenue previously 17.7 billion. We are a Fortune 500 company, and over 250 of the Fortune 500 companies are actually clients of ours, and we work directly with them across 70 different countries and with over 130,000 employees worldwide. So what makes us different from a lot of other IT services companies is that we're IT agnostic, which means we don't push our own products. We work with our clients to find the right technology needs for them. So if a client comes to us and says, hey, we have XYZ IT infrastructure or cloud or whatever within their business, we go out to market and we work with a range of our partners to try to find the right IT services for them. So across talking about some of our clients, we work in a lot of different industries, which is why as part of our graduate program, we're not looking at specific disciplines. We're actually open to a lot of different disciplines because of the amount of industries we actually work in. So some of the major ones we work in across Australia and New Zealand would be public sector, banking, insurance, and even a lot in the energy and utilities sector as well. With also a large footing in defence being part of public sector as well. So they're, some of our largest industries we work with there. I won't spend too much time on this kind of stuff, but this has kind of been our focus for the last couple of years in terms of our growth strategy. So I wanted to put this in there because it just highlights one of the major points for our company is that our first goal is to actually inspire and take care of our colleagues. So the main thing we put first is the people that work for DXC and developing them so that they have an engaging career, which hopefully will allow us to attract real good talent such as you guys here. Just some of the stuff we've been working on as well across APAC, as you can see here, there's on the left side there, you can see how we're trying to focus our strategy within the APAC, Australia Pacific region, whether that's within banking and insurance or across some of our other smaller regions in China, South Korea, and Japan in the automotive industries, as you can see on the side there. One of the big deals that we actually sold recently, I think at the back end of last year, was the Western Sydney Airports project. So we actually won business to set up all their IT infrastructure and all their systems. So whenever you go through Western Sydney Airport, once that's been developed, you'll be using all DXC systems through there. So that's a big piece of business that we've won recently. So now talking a little bit about our graduate program and just a little overview to start. So our graduate program is a 12-month program. So it'll start either at September 2022 or February 2023. So we'll be having 2 intakes this year. It is a 12-month program from that date, which focuses on developing you as a graduate into our business within DXC. So first you'll start with an induction, where you'll get to meet some of the senior leaders and work with other grads throughout Australia and New Zealand. And from there, you'll be given some training and development within your role and within DXC. So we'll give each and every graduate a training plan, which helps them learn a bit more about DXC and how we do things, but also a bit more about their role and the business unit that they're working for. Also, as part of the induction, we'll also introduce you to a lot of different stakeholders from your location and also your graduate cohort there as well. So you'll be able to interact with them from I guess a social and more engagement point of view. So you'll be able to, go into the office and meet each other and do all that kind of stuff from the get-go, considering we are a virtual first company currently. And just on the left there is some of the recognition we've actually received from our last year's cohort. So we were ranked number 7 as the most popular graduate employer, as voted by Grad Connection and the AFR, and we were the most popular technology employer as well. So just talking about some of the stuff we were going through just then. So we have the induction to start with, and you go through the trainings, like I mentioned, and that kind of rolls into our check-ins with your manager. So over the first few weeks and months, you'll actually have regular check-ins with your manager to see how you're progressing and how you're tracking, and they'll be able to make sure you're on board with all the trainings and you're developing well. And if you have any issues, that's the time to raise them. You will also be given a buddy as well when you first start. So they're generally a grad that joined in previous years that within your business unit. So you can ask them, any questions that you don't feel comfortable asking your manager, like, I don't know, if you're in the office, where to get a coffee, how to find specific systems, how to use specific systems, because sometimes they can be a bit tricky, that kind of stuff. And then at the end of the 12-month mark, you'll have your graduation, which Charlotte has previously gone through in the last week as well, as she was part of the last grad cohort. So some of the pathways that we take into our graduate program are listed here. As I mentioned, we don't focus on any specific discipline, as we do work with a lot of different clients, but these are some of the roles within our businesses that you'll fit into. So we take anything from very technical type roles like your app devs and your software engineers, and even cybersecurity at some points, and through to your more business focused roles such as your business consultant or your business analyst or PM even. And you can find more details about each of those on our website, through the website just there. It'll have the detailed job descriptions and the kind of skills we're looking for each role as well. Yeah, as I mentioned, we don't target any specific discipline. It's very open, and they're all the Australia-based locations that we're looking to hire for, including, we actually include New Zealand as well. So if you're interested in Wellington or Auckland offices, you can also apply there. And for eligibility, we only take in citizens and permanent residents at the moment, and you have to have completed or will be completing your degree within the last 2 years. So between November 2020 and Feb 2023. Applications are currently open, and they'll be closing April 15th at midnight. So I'll hand it over to Charlotte now to talk a little bit about the application process and what's kind of involved for each of you guys as you apply. And it's very applicable not only for DXC, but also across a lot of major companies as well.
Yep, thanks, Dan. So I actually, as I mentioned before, I just recently went through the grad program. So I started this time last year. So this process is sort of fresh in my mind. So when we do a Q&A at the end, feel free to ask any more specific questions around this. So step 1 is submitting the online application. So as Dan mentioned, they're open now, closing on the 15th of April. So during that process, you can put in a few different preferences of the role types that you're interested in. And then once you submit your application, you'll receive a link to an online testing, which is gamified assessment. So it's just be around like a 30-40 minute quiz online, which is your basic like numeracy, literacy questions, things like that. And then if you make it through that stage, you'll have a video interview where you get to speak with one of our hiring team members. So they want to know about your motivations for applying, sort of what you know about DXC. It's just a short, brief interview, face to face with someone over a Teams call. And then if you make it through that stage, we have our assessment centres, which are going to be held throughout June and July this year. So at the assessment centre, you'll get the chance to interact with different other candidates. You'll do a group activity and a short written exercise, and then you'll have a longer interview where you can have a discussion with your potential manager. And that's a really good opportunity to be able to it's a two-way conversation. So you can ask them, more about the role. What will your day-to-day look like? Perhaps, you'll talk to a manager and they might say, oh, you know what, you might have the skills that align more to this sort of role. Or, so it's very much a two-way conversation where not only we'll get to know you, but you'll get to learn more about DXC as well. And then after the assessment centres, you'll hopefully receive an offer from us. And that that covers the entire application process. And then, on the screen there, you'll find the DXC website. And from that graduate website, that's where you can find the Apply Now button and submit your initial application.
Too easy. Thanks, Charlotte. Yeah, really, we just wanted to go through the kind of presentation quickly, because I think these kinds of sessions are much better if we actually get to answer your questions, because I'm sure you have plenty about the application process, graduate programs, anything in general as well, which we're happy to answer. So I'm happy to open it up. If anyone has any questions, feel free to take yourself off mute. If not, feel free to chuck your questions in the chat and we can answer them there as well.
Daniel, just a quick question. Just regarding, having to finish your degree no later than, was it February next year?
Yeah, so Feb 2023, because that's our last intake. That's
right.
Generally when you'll have to have completed your degree by, yeah.
Okay, no, because just for me, because I'm actually finishing my degree in July next year. So I was wondering if there's any kind of leeway or there's another intake.
So we do sometimes take in graduates as long as they're not studying full time in that last, so you'll be doing semester 1 next year. As long as you're not studying full time, say you only have maybe 1 unit remaining, we would generally allow you to apply this year, because sometimes managers aren't too worried about having someone, studying part-time and then working full-time. It's just up to you if you're happy to be, working full-time and studying at the same time to finish your degree. So yes, we're still happy if you do apply, but just make that clear in the application as well.
Right, thank you.
Not a problem. And if not, you can always apply next year as well. So you'll be because we do have a mid-year intake in September, which you would still align to then, because that September intake that we do in the middle of each year is for people that are graduating generally in July.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Not a problem, Zach. Cheers. Any other questions?
Got a question in chat. I'm happy to read to you.
Yep.
So this first one is from Sri. Is this graduate program limited only to MBA students, or is it applicable to other streams as well?
Yeah, so it's not just limited to people with an MBA degree. It's open to all disciplines. So you don't need to come from a business background or even a technical background. We have a lot of grads that are just kind of interested in technology, especially in the last intake. We had a lot of grads that actually did not have a technical background and just were interested in IT. That's one of the main things we're kind of looking for. As long as you have a passion to learn a bit more about technology and kind of understand how it works, I guess, from a business to business point of view, like in a corporate sense, then yeah, we're looking for people like you, because we're happy to teach you a lot of that technology and how it works as part of the graduate program. It's more you need to be able to have a passion to learn about it. So if you're interested in learning about it and interested in working in like that corporate environment with a lot of big clients, then yeah, DXC is probably the right place for you.
And just to clarify again, Sri, thanks for that, Daniel. Most of your graduate programs that we have presentations for with our employer partners are for bachelor students. So in many cases, if it's especially aligned with MBA students, we'll be upfront about that as well and let you know in the event details itself. Mary is asking, I'm an international student. I finish next year. Can I apply?
So unfortunately, we can't bring in students with visas for our program, but if you're in the process of acquiring your permanent residency and you'll receive your PR before the start of the program, then you would be eligible for the grad program.
Thanks for that. Got a question from Shandy. What is it like to be in a graduate business analyst role, such as what kind of projects can they expect to be working on?
I might hand over to Charlotte to talk a bit about being a grad within the program. I mean, you worked as a project manager, but I'm sure you could talk a bit about a BA type role as well, because you've probably worked with a few BAs yourself.
Yeah, so I would say business analyst, a lot of similar to what I do and the business analysts I worked with. A lot of it was talking to the client, directly with the client, and understanding their business needs, and how DXC can help, basically how DXC can provide value to the client who you're working with. So a lot of the time that means having direct relationships with, the clients you're working with, and being able to communicate between people who work at DXC, some of the tech resources, as well as the people in their business who are going to be directly impacted by the changes that DXC are going to make. So I'd say a lot of it is about having good, communication and, building relationships, things like that as well, not so much just having technical knowledge. In terms of the projects, you can be working on projects that go for 5 years at a time, or you can be working on projects that last a couple of weeks or a couple of months. It all varies depending on the clients you're working with and the sorts of industries that you'll be in. And the good thing about DXC is that there's no limit of the different industries that DXC works with. So always opportunity to work on different kinds of projects that impact different industries.
Charlotte, just a quick question, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah.
Just because you're a business analyst, what degree did you get?
So I actually wasn't a business analyst. I started in project management. And my background, I had a business management and commerce degree, but I know that some of the business analysts that I do know at DXC, they had all sorts of backgrounds, a lot in business commerce area. There's also, people have international business degrees. As Dan said, we'll accept applications from any type of background, not necessarily just a specific discipline. Because at the end of the day, we're looking for people, as a grad, we're more looking for people who have skills where, you can communicate. As I mentioned, you can communicate, work in a team, and are willing to learn the skills that DXC are going to provide you to succeed in the role. So I hope that helps.
No, it does. Thank you. But just, if you've got, a few applicants and, they're competing for, say, a finance role, and one's got, say, an applied finance degree with a CFA and the other's got an international business degree. What would a manager, look when they're looking at the two candidates, who would come on top?
I would say it depends. Dan, you've probably got more experience in that than me.
Yeah, well, it really depends how you kind of structure your resume in that sense, because yes, you might not have the typical finance background that I guess the manager's looking for, but as long as you've structured your way, or your resume in a way that you're looking for a finance role, and you generally, most people, when you set up a resume, you'll have a little blurb or a description about yourself and what you're looking for at the start of your resume, and then you'll go on to talk about your skills. It's really important in that blurb, because as a person that's gone through a lot of resumes for a lot of different grads, that blurb is very important to get across your skill set and what you're really looking for, and where you're looking to start your career. So that's really important to me. And I'll definitely, if you're looking for a finance type role, structure it in a way that you display that you're looking for a finance role, and then display your skills for a finance role immediately after. I started as a BA a couple of years back. I like to think it was quite only recently, but I had a commerce background as well. So generally BAs have a generalist kind of degree that we can then use for giving them more skills related to the role.
Perfect. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Jumping off of Zach's question, actually, what sort of other characteristics do you look for with applicants? Do you value things like GPA or WAM, extracurricular activities, work experience, etc.?
Yes, I can talk a bit about that. We do, in the application form, we do ask for that, but it's not, I guess, a required, well, it's not something we're assessing you on. It's just a field that we do take information for, just in case. We're mainly looking for, your interpersonal skills, because we are a client-facing business and we work with, people every day. It's very important that you have good interpersonal skills and are able to communicate your understanding of things. That's probably the main skill. And we're just looking, especially as part of the application process, we're looking for people that are kind of open and motivated. So, willing to try different things and learn new stuff. That's really important to us because, you know, we might hire you for a specific role with a business because you have the skill set for it, but there's no saying what new opportunity might come up at the same time while you're on the graduate program that you might need to, you know, shift to. So you might start on one project where you've got the skills and the knowledge for it, and then all of a sudden you get thrown in the deep end for another project that you've got to kind of learn new things and understand a bit more about that you might not have the knowledge for currently. So being able to adapt and are willing to work with new things, that's kind of what we're looking for, because, you know, it's always going to happen. There's always going to be new stuff you're going to have to work on, and there's going to be new technology within the 12 months that you probably join a graduate program that you're going to have to work with and learn about. So yeah, that willingness to learn and adapt is really important. I don't know, Charlotte, do you have anything else you'd like to add to that?
No, I think that's pretty good. Pretty covered.
Too easy.
Thank you. I have another question from Shandy. What are the greatest challenges that you think a fresh graduate would experience going into the grad program?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to this. So firstly, I think if it's your first, first full-time job going into a new corporate world that you're not used to, I think getting to know the business and how it works, who the people are, how the teams are structured, it takes time to sort of understand a big business, especially if you've never experienced that before. But that's why the grad program is really good, because in your, you'll have a full induction week at the start, and people are really supportive, where they know that you're new to this and you're not used to it. So we do a lot of work to let you know about DXC and how it's structured and how the teams work, which is really useful. Being virtual first at the moment, I feel like that might be a challenge to some people in terms of how much time you'll spend in an office and not in an office. It can vary from team to team. For example, I was working, part-time in the office, like on the client side. So it was very much a hybrid model, where I was lucky enough to be super flexible. And from what I've seen and heard, most of the teams, flexibility is one of the biggest benefits at DXC right now, where if you prefer to work in the office, you should have the opportunity to do so, versus working at home if you want to prefer working virtually. But I think to some people that could be a challenge if you're not used to, working over Teams and Zoom and things like that. However, I imagine that throughout the pandemic at university, most people are probably getting more used to that style of working with teams and things like that. So yeah, I think that could be something that some would find challenging, but it's certainly something that you'll adapt to and get used to.
Yeah, absolutely.
No problem.
Are there any other questions? Are there any others in the chat, Tyree? Sorry, I don't have it open at the moment.
Oh, good. None that I see. I'll probably stop recording now.